Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff Mosher, Adam Caplan. And yes, Inside the Birds is back, but I have to admit, Adam, when we dropped our last podcast previewing the Washington-Philadelphia game Friday morning, while I knew, and so did you, we knew that the COVID outbreak had made things perilous, I did not expect that Monday morning's podcast was still not going to be a game review podcast. I thought that this thing was going to go off hook by hook or crook, but at the 11th hour, and literally right for the Raiders who were about to get on an airplane on Friday or Saturday, I forget which day it was, they were
Friday,
told to hold on, stand down. Right. So it really was an 11th hour decision to cause chaos here in week 14.
Yeah, I think 15? What disappoints
14, yeah.
Week 15, right. What disappoints fans and a lot of the national media and a lot of NFL teams is that the commissioner made it clear in his July 22nd memo to all NFL teams that they were not going to move games. Like, there shouldn't be any reason to move games. Now, they did put some language in there, pending, of course, local guidelines.
Medical stuff, yeah.
Right. Well, okay, so I hate to say this excuse, but their crutch is the Omicron variant. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, it's still COVID. Okay, why do teams like the Eagles, the Patriots, they're less than 10 teams have had very few. The Eagles are top 3 in having the fewest amount of players missing games to COVID. They've done a phenomenal job. So have the Patriots. A lot of teams have done a nice job, right? But then you have a team like Washington. You have a team like the Rams who had done a very good job up until recently.
Right.
But why do these teams get a benefit here? Because we'll get to how Washington benefited. Boy, they sure benefited. This is, I think, probably people's greatest fear of whether you gamble on teams, or you're playing fantasy, or for whatever you're vested interested, or you're a fan of the Eagles. Some of these players are coming back because they had the benefit of waiting extra days. And this is what the league, still in their latest memo, still had strong language. But right now, since you now have this excuse that if you have a big breakout, you're not going to have to forfeit. Who's to say that this same thing won't happen? And we'll get to the revised protocols, which some people have panned, and I totally understand that, and I'll explain why. Right. But to me, I also feel, and I saw these comments in social media, and I totally understand it. For the people, let's say, I know a lot of fans fly in for Eagle games, who might be. I know some guys are flying from Phoenix. They had to do their trips. Now, I don't know if the airlines was willing to. I know some airlines are being great about it. Some are not. Hotels. I'm hoping the hotels if you're displaced, are being fair about it because it's not your fault. So this is the the fan gets jobbed on this. This is the thing that bothers me, and I think that's the part where it needs to be brought to light. It's not only the team's got an advantage for this; it's the fans that get screwed a little bit because they have to completely change their plans.
Right. Even if you're not flying in, let's say you have season ticket holders and this is a home game for the Eagles, you got your Sundays. There's a segment of the fan base, a particularly large one, that likes 1 o'clock games way more than 4 or 8 o'clock games. Younger people tend to like the 8 o'clock games. The older people tend to like, I'm not trying to, it's true. They'll sell their tickets to the younger people for 8 o'clock because they still have to work tomorrow. They don't get to just loaf around all day the next day. But now you're asking people to go attend a game on a Tuesday night, or early evening, and do your whole routine and pregame. It messes everything up. There's no doubt about it. I sympathize with that fan. So I have a hard time with the blame game here because this is a mutually agreed upon decision by the league and the NFLPA. And if we're being honest, I think the league didn't want to change it. It was the NFLPA that really was the driving force. So it's the Players Association. However, before any of that conversation leads to people saying, oh, the players are this, the players are that, not all players agree with it. I bet you if all players actually had a vote, it would be like 51-49. Some players, and honestly, they're talking about health and safety. A lot of this is also competitive advantage. If you polled every single Eagle, do they want to play on Sunday? You're getting 53 or 60, whatever it is. Yes, we want to play. You poll every Washington player. If they don't want to play on Sunday, you're getting no, they don't want to play. So there's just too many variables in this, and this is what the league and the NFLPA decided, though, eventually was best for the game, and I believe that is true. If you just take the fan, like you want the easy win out of it, it's best for the game itself to watch two teams that aren't reduced to third stringers all over the place, or one team that has just a few. And like it was setting up to be a preseason game for Washington with what they were going to be able to put on the field. And that just as an observer, I don't think was good for the game. However,
I agree with. Yeah,
if you want to criticize and say every policy, every agreement that was put in place in August or before that going into the year just completely got shredded up at the last second, and that's not right. I totally understand that too. There was no consistency to this thing, and it makes you wonder what the next 2 or 3 weeks are going to be like.
Yeah, I know some people said, well, what happened in the playoffs? Well, they absolutely don't want to move those because it delays the offseason. We're living in a COVID world, as my friend Bill Polian would say. We have to react to what it does. And I still have a problem with the way it was handled. And I know some people are pointing out, and I guess there's some truth to it, because J.C. Tretter is the president of the Players Association. Oh, by the way, he plays for the Browns.
Right.
And that's and you saw what
conflict there. Yeah.
Right. You saw what some of the Raider players said.
Yep. It's
not right.
You can't just say, oh, the players are being, spoiled about this, or the owners. Yeah. This is not a unilateral decision by any stage of the means. There's a lot of different opinions about it, and I don't know who's right or wrong, but I'll repeat. I do think, and I would think you agree, that what we're going to see Tuesday night, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is just for football analysis, and just good football is better than what you would have seen on Sunday. I think that's fair to say.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, yeah. No, I know some fans, and I totally get the sentiment. I sort of agree with it. That so what? Hey, listen, they should be able to move it. You put out a bad roster. That's your fault. That really was what the NFL office told me last year, leading into the season, why they would not cancel games, why they knew they were going to have a season. They didn't care how many practice squad players they put out there. That's the club's problem. That really was the gist of the commissioner's memo to the teams on July 22nd.
Right.
And several months later, I know that the conditions changed a little bit. But again, it comes back to this. Why do some teams do a great job with it and some teams don't?
It's a great question. I do think it's unfair because I've heard this and I want to address it because I think it's unfair.
Yeah.
We know that sort of the beginning of the COVID outbreak for Washington, we know that one of the first players was Montez Sweat.
Mm-hmm.
And we also know that he's unvaccinated. That's been reported, and I think he's even confirmed it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So they're saying why it's almost like people are saying he was unvaccinated, and because of him being unvaccinated and getting COVID, this outbreak among Washington occurred. And that I think that's actually an unfair accusation, because I think what you can also say is the protocols for unvaccinated players in the NFL are so strict as for what you can and can't do, unless, of course, your name's Aaron Rodgers. But for Montez Sweat, who is not Aaron Rodgers, he's in the facility with a mask on. If he's following every single protocol, it's really hard for him to spread it. It's actually harder for him to spread it than others because he's beholden to way more protocols than everybody else in that building. So to simply just say, well, this is Montez Sweat's fault, I think is not right, because as we've seen with other teams, there are outbreaks with Cleveland, and you don't know if it started with a vaccinated or unvaccinated player. You just don't know. It's really, I don't want to penalize Washington for having an outbreak like they're, comparing them to the Eagles, say, well, they're the irresponsible team, because honestly, in 3 days, it could be the Eagles. And they're a majority vaccinated team as well. Like most of their players are vaccinated. We already see that Landon Dickerson got put on the list, and who knows what's going to happen between the time people listen to this pod and the time kickoff on Tuesday.
Well, no, that's the issue is that, we're doing this special show. It's Monday morning now. And I'm checking the Washington team's PR account, like literally every hour.
Yep.
Because on Saturday they had 3 things happen. Plus I didn't even know they were going to put out an injury report. I got it to my email. I'm like, what is this? Wait a minute. I had to process them. It was too weird for me. I'm like, why do these guys? Wait, when is their game? Wait, it's Tuesday. Why do they? It's because I can't remember what the Titans were the team that had to have their games moved twice because they had a very bad outbreak.
Right.
And I know the Bills were super pissed off last year when they had to have their game moved. I know there were a lot of finger pointing at the Titans last year. And they wound up getting fined, but the league felt like they didn't do anything on purpose, but they had to set an example, so forth. So we don't want to take up an hour on this. Again, There's an advantage. Washington got it. We're going to get over how they got the advantage. There's been a hidden advantage for the Eagles, which I'd mentioned on Twitter. People thought I was crazy, but it wound up happening, and I'll explain that as we get through this.
Yeah, definitely. And real quick, some people have said there's a financial incentive for the NFL to have moved these games. I'm not sure why. I guess because they're saying that more games are going to be on prime time now. But if that were the case, the Tuesday games, there was a perfect opportunity for the NFL to put the Eagles in Washington at, say, like 6 o'clock, and then Seahawks Rams, a West Coast game at 9 o'clock, which is 6 o'clock on the West Coast. And they didn't do that. They're having.
Why?
Listen, I don't know, but that's not in the best financial interest of the league. I can tell you that.
Well,
because now people can't watch both games.
Well, yeah. So they're both. Am I correct? They're both Fox games.
Well, they could have moved one if they wanted to. I'm sure
that's what I mean.
I gladly accepted it.
Yeah. I was watching one of the Fox games on Sunday, and they put up the schedule for Monday night and Tuesday night. So Tuesday night, Fox, 7 o'clock and 7 o'clock. So I'm like, well, wait a minute. How? I don't understand. So I guess if you're in the Seattle, Los Angeles area, you'll get that on your Fox channel. Mm-hmm. And I guess the rest of the country or certain areas, we'll obviously get Washington, Philly. Right. I'm guessing that's the way that they're going to do it. But nevertheless, I agree. I don't know why they wouldn't split it up, but they must do some studies where Fox said, no, we want these at 7 Eastern. We get a bigger audience. I'm guessing that's the reason.
I'm guessing you're right, because otherwise it's unexplainable. It doesn't seem to maximize the capital they can make off this. But that's that. All right. So look, that's our opinions on it. And at the end of the day, I think you're going to get a better football game. And if you really wanted the free win, I guess my response to you would have been, for what? You want to make the play? Okay, for what? Because don't you, I know it sounds ridiculous, but don't you at least want to kind of earn your way? The whole point of the season of a season, I get it if you were maybe 11-3 or something like that, and it's all right. What's a free win? You're going to the playoffs, and you're a really good team. This team's kind of have to earn what it gets, because it's an evaluation mode for still the coaches, still the quarterback, still young players, and I think this is a better chance to evaluate. And if you think a free win is screwing you out of going to the Super Bowl, you're crazy. So, I mean, it's just not going to happen. So that would be my response.
Okay. There you go. There's our filibuster.
All right. We will still do a pregame show for those who have asked. We put it out on Twitter, but just in case you haven't seen yet, our pregame show will be Tuesday from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, normal time for I guess, a 7 o'clock start, 4 to 6 p.m. It'll be on our Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube platforms. And, of course, it'll be ready to go right on the podcast platform right after it's done. As far as Inside the Bird ITB TV, our last one was Steven Nelson, got a lot of good reaction from it. So if you haven't seen it, I would check it out, because it stands the test of time. It's not just about Washington. So there's some really interesting things about his feelings on the defense, about coming to Philadelphia, playing here, and just cornerback play in general that you would really like. And I'm pretty sure the next ITB TV that'll come out later this week is going to have our friend Seth Joyner.
Yeah.
So everybody look out for that. That's a nice little Christmas gift for everyone. Yep. Q&A will drop at its normal time this week as well, I believe. So we will get to have that. And keep checking out InsideTheBirds.com. Please give us some more 5-star reviews on Apple. Ask a question there. I promise we'll answer it. We've had several 5-star reviews and questions, and we really, really appreciate that. And we also thank everybody for kind of reaching out to us during this kind of crazy deranged scheduling, wondering if we were going to drop pods on certain days or if we were going to have the pregame show. So our if the Eagles are working, we're working. So we look forward to doing it and doing what we got to do. All right. There's still some time left before Christmas, which means if you're out of money for shopping, you can still get some gifts for people who maybe kind of didn't make the cut. All you need is a few pennies, because we've got Deal Dash, our friends. It's the online shopping platform that's fun, and it's the longest running penny auction website and app around. And we tell you all the time, some of the things that you can get on Deal Dash, they just sound too good to be true. A car going for $900, brand new TV, less than $2, iPads, iPhones, things of that nature, less than $200, less than $100. It's crazy. So don't be a loser. Stop paying full retail price for things you want. Just get on Deal Dash. Go to DealDash.com or download the app. And when you register, enter the promo code ITB for a special offer for some free bids. All right, Adam, so we start this podcast. We did have a discussion about what COVID just did to the league over the weekend, but do you want to kind of run through some of the revisions that are going to be important going forward? Because I think there's still confusion. I sometimes think I'm still confused as to what the revised protocols are.
Yeah, just to simplify it, fully vaccinated players, they were tested every Monday, once a week. Now what it'll be is you're fully vaccinated. You will only be screened. You'll only be tested if you have some kind of symptoms, if you're symptomatic. And also what they're going to do is they're going to sort of like rotate position groups for the fully vaccinated players just to keep it going. Like this week it might be running back, a wide receiver. Next week it might be offensive lineman. But you're not going to be tested every week anymore, unless you're symptomatic or you ask to be tested. You know, if you're not feeling right, and also players who are high risk could opt out, but they won't get paid for the rest of the season. You can do that. I don't know if we're going to have that. You know, I don't know if anyone would do that, but that's really the only difference. Now, the unvaccinated players, everything's the same. You're tested every day. Mm-hmm. But I'm still wary of. See, the problem that I believe, and other people believe, is that when even though we've known since the virus started, and at least we know about it in February of 2020, and before obviously the vaccinations, so many people who were asymptomatic could spread it. Mm-hmm. You know, because you worry about when you go home, you with someone who's a close contact and gets it. Obviously, you have to be tested, but there's sometimes when you don't know someone who's staying with you, who comes into your house, and they're asymptomatic, and then they wind up a week later having it, and then you might have had it unknowingly. You're a player or you're a coach, by the way, you're a personnel guy, but particularly the coaches and players, you go in and you go in and you spread it to the players, or you spread it to the personnel staff, or whatever the case may be. But they are going to be everyone's going to have intensive protocols now. So you have to wear masks inside. You have to go get your lunch. That way, they're being smarter about this to try to cut this down. But I still worry about people not knowing that they have it, spreading it.
Right. So I know Dr. Sills, Alan Sills, right, the chief medical officer for the NFL, had a conference call, and it sounded like what he was basically saying is that they found that the transmission of the latest virus for the NFL, as you mentioned, was mostly inside the facilities. That's where they were seeing the outbreaks, as far as in the classrooms, among coaches and players, but not on the field of play. So I didn't realize this, but when you test for COVID, there's a number, like a threshold number, that tells you how transmissible you are. And what they found is that a lot of these recent players who are testing positive but are asymptomatic are testing at a lower threshold, meaning their number shows that they are positive, but they're not highly transmissible. And so it's okay to play on the field because they're not seeing numbers of outbreaks. Because like when one team plays another, they're not seeing the team that doesn't have COVID like all of a sudden sprouting with it. They're seeing the team that brought it into the facility have it. So that's why it sounds like they've said in the facilities, we're going to mask up, we're going to spread out, we're going to go back to all those hardcore protocols. However, when it's time to play a game, our data says it's okay that it's not going to transmit at the same rate. So we'll make sure. So as long as you're asymptomatic and vaccinated, you're all right to play, which is it's such a strange dynamic because they're literally moving games one weekend and then telling you it's not such a bad thing the next. But I mean, that is a good thing, I think, for the league and for fans and for players, that you're probably going to see more players playing, even if they test positive, as long as they're asymptomatic and vaccinated. That's a good thing,
threshold.
I assume.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm just saying, I assume that's a good thing.
Yeah, the number, as Ron Rivera was talking about this Sunday to the reporters, because he was asking about if there would be more players come off. We'll give you the list of players who came off on Sunday night and Sunday afternoon and Saturday. But he said, that some numbers are looking good, but they have to see later today what they look like. I mean, it's really bizarre what they're going through with the quarterbacks. It's absurd. But they would love to be able to get one of their top two guys for this game.
I'm sure they will.
It's really remarkable what they're having to go through. It's when we became reporters, we never knew this would be coming. No one else did. It is what it is, and Washington clearly is benefiting from this. Now, what we don't know is if Daniel Snyder, who's got a very good relationship with Roger Goodell, we have no idea. I know some people speculated that. Couldn't tell you if he by the way, he's not supposed to be doing anything with the team right now. We should mention that.
Right.
I'm sure he's not. Whatever the hell you want to call it. So another story for another time.
Exactly. All right. So I think that pretty much explains the revised protocols there and what we might expect going forward. So, all right. So on Sunday, the Eagles put Landon Dickerson on the COVID list, reserve COVID-19 list, and then they activated Jason Huntley and Quez Watkins off. So it's kind of weird. It was like you get one guy back, and we talked about the importance of having Quez Watkins, or we talked about how missing him, even though he doesn't have a ton of yards or catches, was significant just because he's been the kind of a sort of semi-reliable shot play guy this year. And then you take that away, and what happens when they take Devontae out of a game? Who do you go to, right? So now he's back, but of course, Landon Dickerson's out. Now, I think the time they announce it is not the time they find out. They usually find out earlier in the day.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that Landon Dickerson would not have played even if the game was on Sunday.
Oh, yeah, because it came in. That's a great point, because it came in after 1 o'clock Eastern. Yeah, because David Johnson, the Texans, the veteran running back, was announced that he was out in week 14 an hour before the game, which is ridiculous.
Right.
So that plays to your point. He had to be way earlier than that. In fact, if one of the teams told me, this is weeks ago, I think they get tested at 7 or 8 a.m., something like that.
Yes. I think they get results back in the morning, too, from the prior day. So I know some people are like, see, this is hurting us already. They moved the game to Tuesday, and now we're out Landon Dickerson. And I'm saying, no, I think you were probably going to be out Landon Dickerson anyway. However, you might have gotten Quez Watkins back. But I don't know if that's net neutral or not. I think it's tough to lose Landon Dickerson.
It is. So Huntley goes back to the practice squad. Watkins is back on the 53-man roster. Assuming he feels okay, he'll play. Now, I would assume that Suopeta will be the starter for Dickerson. That would make the most sense. They're still okay with depth. It's not great, but they're guys who have experience. Brett Toth, who could play left tackle, right tackle, and guard. Guard, you really would rather him not do because he only had that Jets game, was it, that preseason game?
Yeah. Well, if you go, he did play last year against Baltimore, right? Oh, you meant just at guard?
At guard, yeah.
It was just a preseason game.
Right. And then Dillard only at left, and Le'Raven Clark could play left tackle, right tackle, or guard. Remember, they signed him to an extension, a 1-year deal, so he signed through 22. He's on the 53. That's where he will not be moved. That's where he's going to remain the rest of the season. So it is amazing once again, the Eagles are not dealing with yes, they had a worse injury issue last year, but they've been attacked with injuries this year. Now, a COVID issue, but yet they still have decent depth. This is a good job by the front office. We criticize them for not having a veteran receiver out there. I think that's very valid. Yeah. But they've done a very good job of building the depth. And this is – I was talking to a GM this past week whose team is not doing well with their offensive line, and we were talking about the guy said he made a nice comment about their front office. He goes, man, if Philly does one thing right, they know how to build an offensive line in depth. I'm like, yeah, they're lost 3 starters and they just have these guys walking in, and they have the NFL's best run game. Who knew? Yeah,
it's a nice combination of investment, procuring, and also coaching and developing. Yeah. So you get all of those things come together at that position. I assume, Adam, I shouldn't assume. My first thought was that Suopeta would start for Dickerson. But it was easy to call him the next guy up when Le'Raven Clark was on the practice squad. But ever since they signed Le'Raven Clark to the 53, it makes me wonder if having a veteran, they'd rather have a veteran in that spot than Suopeta. I don't know. I'm like you. I think that Opeta likely to go, but it wouldn't shock me if maybe they summon Le'Raven Clark instead.
He has played guard. I looked it up. Definitely he's so tall. He's really not built for it, but he did play some for the Colts at guard, but he's really a tackle. Real super long arms. He's That was the thing when he came out of college that teams loved because his length was ridiculous. Like he had 36 or 37-inch arms, like some of the longest in the NFL.
Right.
Not the like feet aren't great, but he's got long arms. He's kind of grown into his body. He's a very serviceable backup. No question. He has started some games. Mm-hmm. He's done a good job coming back from the torn Achilles. So somehow the Eagles kind of get through this thing. Their injury situation is. We'll get to that in a second. But, the Dickerson thing threw us all for a loop. I mean, again, because there's no way to prepare for knowing this is going to happen. Injuries, you kind of find out, okay, this guy's limited, this guy's full, this guy should play, this guy shouldn't play. With the COVID stuff, you never know when these guys are going to come off the list. That's the craziness of it.
So you had a note on Sua Opeta where someone told you he literally can only play one side. Was it left or right?
Oh, gosh.
Come on, it's okay.
Well, no. Here was the point of it, though. He could play both, but to really function at a high level, he could really only play one spot.
Okay, I thought it was left. No, maybe I think it was right. Now that I think about it, I'm just wondering if he's if because of what you had, if they're gonna move Herbig from right guard to left to make sure that Opeta is the right, or if they want to keep Herbig at right because that's where he's been.
Right, because that's right. So in college, I believe he only played one guard spot or mostly one guard spot. And the tape showed, and also here in Philly, that he's way more comfortable one of the guard spots, which I know some people say, gosh, guard is a really big deal. I didn't think so, but the people I've spoken to say that for him it's a big deal. So they're playing your point about keeping him at the one guard spot he's comfortable with and moving Herbig over to the other spot. So one way or the other, it really should be Herbig and Opeta at the guards spots there. And that's kind of where they have to look at it here. Look, getting Opeta tape here is not the worst thing in the world. And this is Jason Kelsey's guy. He stuck up for him. He goes, don't sleep on him. Don't sleep on the guy.
He said that. You're absolutely right. So it should be very interesting to see what goes on there. All right, we'll get to now the injury situation for the Eagles. Before we do that, I want to tell you, if you want to get an advantage over your sportsbook, download BetQL. It's the only app you'll need to make smart bets. We've been telling you about their computer model. It scans over 350,000 unique bets a year to give you a best bet recommendation for every game across all major sports and the reason why you should place the bet. Their model covers everything from spreads to over-unders and player prop bets. And if you don't want to use the model, you like to do the research yourself, BetQL has all the necessary tools for your betting research needs, from sharp data to line movement, team summaries, lineup and injury breaking news, even a leaderboard to track your success. So head to the App Store or Google Play Store now to download BetQL, or go to the website try.betql.co/ITB to get started. Just use the promo code ITB at checkout to get 25% off their subscription offerings. And they've also got this cool sportsbook offers page. If you live in one of the eligible states, you can claim free offers upon signing up at one of the many sportsbooks listed. So don't miss out on your chance to beat your sportsbook this football season using BetQL. Now, it's funny. They talked about line movement. BetQL uses,
go ahead.
Talk about line movement. You saw the line for this game. It was like 3, then 4, then 9, then 11, 13. Now I haven't even checked to see what it is now on DraftKings, but I'm sure it's gone back down now that all the Washington players who have come back. But amazing, right?
It is funny. So I do this TV hit on what's called a company called Sports Grid on Sundays. And I didn't know this. They hit me up with it. They said, hey, why do you think the Texan-Jaguar game, why the Jaguars now go from a 2-point favorite to a 6.5-point favorite? I'm like, well, I'm sure it's because Myers fired and the players are happy about it. But I'm like, they're bad. There's no way in hell the Jaguars, that's a bad line. And that turned out to be correct. Yeah. Because the Texans smoked them and they handled the game. But I understand. But the problem is they're both bad teams. And hey, the one of the bad teams won. The Texans won on the road. But this one, my personal line with knowing who's coming back now for Washington. Now, we just don't know about quarterback, and obviously that's a big thing. But because McLaurin, Washington got benefited by the game being moved, barring some kind of setback, he's definitely playing. That's right. We'd have to have a setback. So they did practice. So here's the practice schedule. Eagles had walkthroughs on Wednesday and Saturday. Practices Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. Now, Friday and Sunday were light, but nevertheless, because this unique schedule, which I would have no idea. This is back in 2011, but obviously when the Eagles play the Tuesday game, the Joe Webb game, the Tuesday game, which was a debacle. Because keep me remembering this one. It was the Ed Rendell. Let's move the game because we're going to get snow again, and it wound up not snowing or very very little snow at all.
That's a great question. I don't remember. I think it did snow. I think the Ed Rendell's problem was that games are supposed to be played in the snow. So what made that one any special? I believe he called it the wussification of America. That America is going soft now, and that's why the game was moved till 2:00. I mean, till Tuesday. So that was his famous line there. And it's not that it is so misnomered as the Joe Webb game. And I get it because the quarterback gets all the attention, but it was really, as I say many times, everybody who's listening to this podcast probably rolling their eyes right now. We know what just going to say it was the Antoine Winfield Sr. game because he blitzed Michael Vick from the blind side like 13 times that, something ridiculous. And for whatever reason, Mike, the center, all the people involved in the offensive operation there just couldn't figure out that Winfield was going to keep blitzing from the slot, and he just wreaked havoc on the Eagles that day. I mean, I forget. Remember, this was the game, the first game after that huge comeback, the Miracle of the Meadowlands 3, right? Against the Giants.
Was it 2010? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the first game after, and the Eagles, I almost feel like the underrated element of that is that how often do you see in football like such a huge comeback emotional win, and then the next week the team has nothing.
That's
right? It's just completely flat. The Eagles scored 14 points that game. I mean, Joe Webb was okay. I'm gonna show you the box score right now.
I got it. I just pulled it up.
I mean, Joe Webb had 195 yards, no touchdowns throwing. I think he ran for a touchdown, but it's not like he lit the world on fire. It's just that the Eagles were – Michael Vick was sacked 6 times that game.
Oh, jeez.
Winfield sacked him twice, forced a fumble, had a tackle for a loss, 9 tackles total. Winfield was just all up in Michael Vick's face that game.
Oh, we got to get Q. Q led the Eagles in tackles. Quentin Michael led the Eagles in tackles that game with 9 solos.
Yeah.
Listen to some of these names. Former Eagle, former Viking, former Panther, former Chief, Kirk Coleman had 7 solos in that game.
Yep.
You're looking, so you're going to know this. The Eagles had 2 Pattersons playing that game. Mike Patterson, we all remember, from USC first rounder, and Dimitri Patterson.
Yep. And who caught a touchdown? What tight end from a small college who would then go on to become a reality TV?
You know how I know? Because I talked to him over Twitter the past couple weeks. You're not going to believe it. Clay Harbor.
Did you? Clay Harbor?
Well, what happened was Clay he said something. I know him a little bit, and we've just talked over Twitter over the years. And I said, dude, don't be doing that. Don't egg the fans on. We were both laughing. It's something like he's being sarcastic. I was like, man, don't do that. But oh man, listen to some of these games. Oh, here we go. Vasante Shenko, the
tight end, right?
Yep. Brad Childress was the coach then, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious! What former Eagle running back, second round pick, I believe, playing that game for the Vikings?
Vikings? I'm not going to look at the box score. I'm going to try to guess this. Second round pick running back.
I'm going to look it up, but it looks like it is. I'll type.
Not Ryan Moats.
You're close.
How could I be close?
I got it right. I got it. No, you will know, but okay, he was a 3rd round pick. I'm sorry, he was a 3rd round pick.
Oh, Tony Hunt? No, it wouldn't be Tony
From Penn State. No, but it was Lorenzo Booker.
Oh, okay. I thought he meant an Eagles draft pick because Lorenzo was drafted by the Dolphins.
Okay, yeah. My bad. Yeah. I screwed that up. Yes. But Brian Moats. Was Moats a 2nd rounder? 3rd rounder?
No, Moats was a 2nd rounder, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Some great names. Jim Kleinsasser was in there. My man.
Kleinsasser.
My friend Ben Lieber, who I know very well. From the sidelines for the Vikings.
Yep.
Wow, there's some really interesting names in this. Yeah, wow. Lito was with the Vikings?
Yes, he
Where was
was.
that?
I
Where was
remember
that?
that.
This happen?
Oh
Wow.
my God, Bernard Berrien played in
Yeah.
that game. Sidney Rice, remember
Yeah.
him?
Yeah, he had a bad
How
knee,
about that?
unfortunately. Good player from South Carolina. Yeah. And Percy Harvin had a huge game. Wow.
Oh my God, is there
I've
anybody from either team still with the team? I guess
what,
Jason Kelsey played in that game, correct?
2011. No, he played in 11. No, he would have played in 2011.
Well,
I mean,
Everson Griffin was actually with the Vikings that year.
that he could have been.
He's on
Yeah, he's on a reserve
he's on
list
some
now.
kind of
Yeah.
list. Yeah, but geez.
Look at the Eagles. Wow. Okay, Peters, of course.
Mhm.
Herman's at left guard. Mike McGlynn.
Mike McGlynn, Greasy. He's a good dude.
That was his name.
Max
Okay.
Jean Giles or Gillies
Maxine
at right
Gillis.
guard.
Yeah.
I forget. Yeah,
Oh
Gillis.
boy. And Winston Justice.
Winnie. Wow. I can't believe Everson Griffin was actually on that team. He's probably the only one still employed by the same team all this time later, right?
Wait, was he? I'm looking. I don't see him. Is he? What did he play in that game? Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
97. Yeah, sure he did.
Yeah.
Sub. Yeah. Wow.
How
Holy
about
smokes, man! It is. Who is A. Allen for the Vikings? Drawing a blank.
that? Beats the snot out of me, man. I have no idea.
Like I know some of these Hamza Abdul. I remember him. The great Jared Allen, of course.
Yep.
Pat Williams, sure. Kevin Williams, Ray Edwards tried to
Oh my
become
God,
a boxer.
Namdi? No, Namdi was not on that team. That
Do,
was the
do you remember when the Eagles fans, he was a free agent, they wanted him to come here? Do you remember that?
Which guy?
Ray Edwards.
Yes, I do. The defensive end, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Wow, he had a short-lived time as one of the better defensive ends in the league.
Yeah,
I
and they went
remember
to Atlanta. But all right, well that was a great look, man. Man, you got a better memory than I do. I don't remember a lot of this stuff.
Man, when you live it and you're there every day,
Yeah.
it just kind of gets embedded in your brain.
Well,
So
I wrote the game piece for FoxSports.com, and I don't even remember. I don't. I just remember being so put off that the game was so bad.
mhm.
It was one of these. The only good thing about it is it was one of those. I wrote it in the third quarter because you kind of saw the way it was going.
Right.
Though the game was tight, the Eagles closed it, but
They had nothing all day, all game long. They just had nothing.
Nothing,
that
right,
day. I
right.
remember that as clear as day. And I really do think that the win over the Giants coming back from, what was it, 31-10 in the fourth quarter? I forget what the –
sounds about right.
I think that just took the – it's like, it's like when you run a marathon, you cross the finish line, and then maybe you got to run a race 4 days later, and you just don't got it. And that to me was exactly what happened. They could have played that game on Monday, Thursday, any time of the. I just felt that they were going to lose that game because they had given up so much emotion into that Giants game. It's a fascinating dynamic how that happens a lot in the NFL. All these huge wins, and then congratulations, the Lions beat the Cardinals. That's awesome. That was great for them. Good for Tan Campbell. I'm telling you, they're going to get their asses kicked next week, no matter who they play. It's just it's it. You just know it's going to happen.
Well, they play hard I'll say this about the Lions. They play hard every week.
They do.
As bad as the roster is, I mean, how about the Cardinals? Like, wow.
Yeah.
They're struggling right now. It's not just DeAndre Hopkins' injury. They're struggling down the stretch here. There's still 3 games left. They could turn it around. It's not like it's the end of the season, but they're struggling a little bit right now.
It was another kind of weekend, and we have to find out tonight, what happens in the Vikings-Bears game.
Yes.
But obviously, San Francisco did what they were supposed to do. They beat Atlanta pretty handily there, 31-13. Now Dallas, everybody's hoping Dallas will lose to take them out of that number 1 seed spot, but they win 21-6. They have not been playing what I think is really well. Something's wrong with their passing game ever since Dak came back from the calf injury. Now, oddly enough, and this is why the ebbs and flows of a season are so amazing, right? The Cowboys are winning games because of their defense. The defense everybody said sucked going into the year and was not going to be very good has been very, very good. Now, granted, you beat the Giants, big deal. Nonetheless, their defense has been good. They beat Washington and the Giants back-to-back weeks more so because of their defense than their offense. So I don't know what that means for their longevity. It's a good thing that your defense is playing well, but there's something not right about that offense, Adam. And it's not all on Dak, because when I watched him play, I didn't think he was making bad throws, but they just don't look prolific anymore for whatever reason.
2 issues, and they're both pretty obvious and major. Their offensive line, I don't know what the hell they're doing. They keep having these they're changing their offensive line almost every week, sometimes in game. Yeah. That's a major problem. They've been doing it. It's if you follow them closely, they've been doing it a lot. And then the other thing is they could not run the ball consistently well for the life of them. They just can't. They're not as explosive. Tony Pollard's got the left plantar fascia. He did what he could. He had some good runs, certainly, in his role. Elliott's not the same player because that lingering knee injury, which he's had. And it's just the shuffling of the offensive line is bizarre to me. I don't know why they keep doing it. Jerry Jones, the good thing is Jerry Jones gives it away every Monday on his radio show. He tells them, he gives out. I don't know if Mike McCarthy likes it, but he gives out exactly what's going to happen. The reporters all start talking about it. Right. But it's really bizarre. You nailed it. Their offense is discombobulated. Dan Quinn, give him credit here. He might be a head coaching candidate again because he's junked his cover 3 and he's going with a lot of man coverage. And coaches don't normally do that, but he deserves credit. But you're right. Their defense has been amazing. Parsons has been defensive player of the year, not just rookie, the defensive rookie of the year. He's been an absolute superstar. And look, they're going to win the division. The question is, how far can they go? They would be my sleeper team for the playoffs.
Right. Another, by the way, not so great thing that happened for the Eagles over the weekend is the Dolphins won their 6th straight game. Yeah. They are now 6-7 with the Saints, Titans, and Patriots.
Actually, yeah.
I'm sorry. Are they better than that? Are they 7-7?
I think they're 7-7, right? 7-7. Yeah, 7-7. Yep.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. 7-7 now at even 500 with Saints, Titans, and Patriots to go. I mean, maybe they lose all 3. I don't know. But the bottom line is they're not getting you a top 5 pick anymore.
I know.
I think maybe 5 to 10 somewhere, depending on how these last 3 games go, but maybe even lower than that, depending how these last 3 games go. Tua's playing a lot better.
Yeah,
a lot better.
Yeah.
So here's what I look forward to because I love how narratives always change. I remember just listening to the Sports Talk Radio how after the Eagles won a few games and the Dolphins were looking bad, it's like Howie was a genius for that Miami trade because that's going to be such a great pick. Well, now that it's not going to be a top 5 pick, does that make Howie not a genius anymore? Because nothing about the trade changed, only about how the Dolphins were playing. Yeah. That's not controllable by Howie, but I guarantee you there'll be some kind of Howie should have never made that trade. The Dolphins aren't even getting us a top 5 pick.
Well, here's the deal. So we should mention the Colts first round pick conveys now. Wentz.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, because what happened the week before, I guess he missed a couple snaps, so it didn't convey, but it conveyed.
Right.
So they now that pick will be in the 20s. Mm-hmm. The Dolphins pick will be somewhere in the teens. So the hope is obviously for Eagles fan, they don't make the playoffs. They're still a long shot. To be honest with you, the Colts to me are getting. They're going to get in. The Chargers are going to get in, and Buffalo it's either Buffalo or Baltimore for the last spot.
Yep.
Or maybe Cleveland, maybe Pittsburgh. But Dolphins aren't going to get in, so the Eagles still will get a mid first round pick, between 12 and 16 or something like that. But they still have 3. This gives them great maneuverability, and we'll see what happens. But it's been a season of learning. They've got this Washington game coming up, so I guess we should get in quickly here to what the injury situation looks like.
Yeah, let's get back to the injuries. My fault, because that's what we started on. Then
that was fun, though. I like the reminiscing of that. Minnesota. I cannot believe some of the players from that Minnesota game. Anyway.
Right. So it was weird because they have all these extra practice days, and that may have helped someone like Jalen Hurts.
Oh, yeah.
Because his status in my mind, despite what was said by Nick Sirianni about he's good to go, was just based on some of the information that both of us received and shared, right? That to me it was still very much in doubt if the game was being played on Sunday.
I would have called him still very questionable,
right?
I just because we know he didn't do very much on Wednesday and Thursday, and Friday he took in a full practice.
Right.
Now, generally, not always. Generally, if you take a full practice in for Friday, you're going to start on Sunday. That's just the way it is. Covering this business 21 years, it's very rare, unless a guy's a setback or because Friday's a light practice. Because see, some teams are super light on Friday. Like the Eagles practice 45 minutes to an hour. I know some teams that do a half an hour. I know the Giants, the Cowboys, some other teams do the Chip Kelly Friday walkthrough Saturday practice.
Mm-hmm.
So, but our understanding is it's generally an hour, but it's light. It's you're not. It's less stringent. So what I had heard is, trending better. Let's see how it gets for the weekend. And the fact that, let me see this here. So they practiced Friday and Saturday, light practices, but they practiced. He took the ones because they list them as taking normal reps. It says a full practice. That has to mean that he took a majority of the reps. That cannot mean anything else because that's the way that they're structured.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that maybe Minshew took 5 reps, he took 30, whatever. We don't know we don't know how many reps each guy gets per practices, but he took a majority of them based on the practice report that they put out. So unless he has a setback, he should be in the lineup. Oh, the other thing is they said they were going to, but they did not put out a practice statuses. They didn't do that. I didn't see it.
Yeah, on what day? They put something on Sunday.
Well, here's the thing. It should have come out Sunday. They didn't release that. They just said practice. They just listed a practice report, but they didn't give it. No one has an injury designation that I saw then.
You're right. There was not an injury designation. There was just limited full type deal, and that's what we learned, that everybody was full except for Dickerson. But I thought then Tuesdays should be the. Oh no, that would be. You're right. I don't know if they came up with a different kind of contingency on when that would be due for a Tuesday game. Maybe it's due Monday.
Well, think about this. It's Sunday was 2 days before the game. Like a Friday would be
right. Usually Friday afternoon. Yeah.
Right. Last injury report for a Sunday game is Friday. Mm-hmm. So because everybody was full Friday and Saturday, it's strictly a guess. Because let's go through this before we get to Washington. Barnett with a neck, he's practiced fully Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Walk through regular practices, he practiced. He's good to go. Howard's good to go. He took fulls on he walked through and then the practice on Saturday or whatever the hell they did. Let me see. Let me get my file open here.
Saturday was a walkthrough, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Okay. So he took a full practice Sunday, took the reps and Saturday's walkthrough. He should go. Other injured players. Kelsey's good to go. He took all his reps. Nelson, as he told us on ITBT, took all his reps. So did Sanders. The only one would be in question would be Hurts. And again, because they had extra time. And remember now, he had basically 2.5 more days to get ready for this.
Yeah.
I don't see how he has to be in the lineup. The only question to me would be, will he last?
Right. I would agree with you on that. I want to go back to something you said.
Okay.
You said like you had heard that you knew that the reps that he had got last week were sort of limited, right? On Thursday.
Yeah.
But remember, that's the day that Nick Sirianni said that he was a full participant in practice.
Well, it actually says it on their injury report. It does say limited.
Well, on Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday.
Thursday it says limited? I thought he said
it was weird. Full. Okay, so just so you know, teams do this when their games are moved.
Mm-hmm.
If you check,
go back and change it, can they?
No, I think what happened is I think they switched the days up, but they didn't switch. The last 3 days they list are Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Of course, they had a practice on Sunday, so it's kind of convoluted. I do believe he took a full. I'm going to double check this right now. I do believe the one they sent out was a full practice on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I'm just reading from the transcript on Friday from Nick Sirianni, Friday's press conference transcript. He was asked, what's the status of quarterback Jalen Hurts for Sunday? His answer was, he was full today. He's questionable, but he's trending in the right direction, and we're hopeful, which was a very kind of interesting wording. If he's a full participant, right, why does he have to still be trending in the right direction? If you're a full participant, you should be doing everything in practice. That's what full participation means.
Okay, so here's what so Friday afternoon, the Eagles sent out their practice report at 4:30. Thursday, Hurts was limited. Friday, he was full.
Right. So Friday they said he was full.
Yep.
And did everything. But I thought, what about Wednesday? What did
Wednesday they said limited, but I think you had said that he barely did anything Wednesday.
That's what I had been told.
Which was a walkthrough anyway.
Did anything Wednesday? Yeah.
It was a walkthrough. So.
Right, and it's as far as I'm understood, Thursday, at some point, Nick Sirianni said he said a lot of reps. All right.
But he also said that
he said a lot of reps.
But didn't he say Minshew did too? Did he say Minshew took some too?
He may have. I'm going to go back to Friday, right? I think maybe Friday was the day that he said a lot of reps. Yeah. Okay. Because the follow-up question after he said that he was asked on Friday, if he was going to play, and that's when he said he's full. He's trending in the right direction and hopeful. And then someone said, does that mean he took all the reps? And he said, we still had Gardner doing some things in there. He had a lot of the reps today. Yeah, he looked good in the workout. He did. All right. But it is still my understanding that the reps he was taking at that point, Adam, were not necessarily like team full-on, full-speed reps. That they were like he was playing catch with guys. He was getting a specific type of rep that didn't put a whole lot of stress on the ankle and was not full speed, which is why I think he also said he's trending that way and left some doubt. He had Gardner also taking reps, and there was some doubt about whether or not he was going to play. I think the big question is, was he running at full speed?
Oh,
Was he doing those things? And I did not get the vibe that he was running at full speed.
Is that as of
Made
Friday?
me think that he was still as of Friday. Yeah, which made me still think he was not 100% to play, despite the way they were saying he's full. Although they did say he was questionable. So
they had a practice on. They had a walkthrough on Saturday. They list him as full. That would mean he was taking majority of the first team reps. That's the way it's supposed. That's what, for starters. He's a starter. He takes starter reps. Sunday they had a regular practice for 2 days before the game, which is like a regular Friday practice, which is light. It's also listed as full.
Right.
And so is everybody else. So theoretically, barring a setback, he should be in the lineup. That's what this should mean. Now, I know you've had some pretty good sourcing on this. Now, you had put out before the bye, there was an issue with the heel. Could you explain that again? Because people had asked us on Twitter to discuss it, and I figured I'd ask you again.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really just that. I mean, I know it's being called a high ankle sprain, and it's as I've said since that pregame show against the Jets, it's more than just that. He had discomfort that stretched all the way to the ankle. All right, so there's something that was causing more pain than just the high ankle sprain, and that caused issues with planting the left foot. Your plant foot, which you need to be able to throw the football pretty well. And of course, if you want to run, you need no discomfort or little discomfort in your ankle and heel areas. And that was still an issue, right? When he came back, he was still we're talking about now coming back from the bye week on Wednesday. There was that video from John Clark that he put out of him walking into the practice bubble. He still had a gait issue. Dallas Goedert said on Friday, I believe it was either Thursday or Friday, Dallas Goedert said he's limping a lot less this week than last week, which was sort of a two-way indicator. One, it was an indicator that they knew pretty early against the Jets he was not going to be able to play because he's limping around. And number two, the limp wasn't gone. He said he's limping less this week than the last time we played, so that there was still something there. So I think that even 2 days later now, with the game being Tuesday, Adam, I think you're hitting on the head. It sounds like he'll be active, most likely be active. And if he plays, I think the question is he at 100%, and how much can he do on that ankle? Like how much has it improved since Saturday and Sunday? To
me, he starts or he's not active. There's no, he can do the job or he can't.
Right.
The fact that by the injury report, he took full practices, and that's an indicator that he took majority of the reps with the starters. That's exactly what it means. It's supposed to mean, at least.
Yes.
If that's the case, he's starting. And then my follow-up would be, well, could he last the game? That
is a good question.
And they should know, based on the way the practice tape looks, here's how he moves, here's how he's stopping and starting when he's running and moving, here's how he's planting that left foot. Now, with high ankle sprains, you could have what's called a mild high ankle sprain, which is a couple-week injury, where you could, if you're running back or wide receiver, you could come back in a couple weeks. Remember, they did have the bye week. So it's, to me, based on the practice reporting that the Eagles put out, he should be in the lineup. There's really no reason. I can't imagine a guy being listed at full, whether I know one of them was at least a walkthrough, but nevertheless, if he's taking starters reps and a majority of them, he should be playing. That's just the way it is.
All right, and then that would make sense, though, to have Gardner taking extra reps than a backup normally would, because he may have to come in if Jalen gets hurt again or can't make it through. All right, download the DraftKings.
real quick.
No,
We'll have
no,
something
no.
on that pregame show. We'll have something on the pregame show tonight, tomorrow night.
Okay,
We'll follow
Tuesday night
something.
we'll have more. Right.
Yes.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code ITB. If you bet just $5 on any NBA team, you can win $150 in free bets if that team is victorious. That's promo code ITB this Christmas week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. You just got to be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. New customers apply. Restrictions apply. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, so we kind of went through all the Eagles' injuries and status on that one, right? Is there anybody else that we didn't? I mean, we didn't really talk much about the fact that they will get Quez Watkins back, and that'll be
it's a
pretty good for their passing game. I mean, that's very helpful. Yeah.
Well, here's the question, because we broke down in our game preview kind of what we saw, what we thought we'd see. Now, of course, things have changed. So the one thing I would say is now that Watkins is back, but Dickerson theoretically is not going to play. Now, obviously, you have to protect, and now the Washington's got a majority, not all, but a lot of their guys back on their D-line. Pass protection, look, we know the Eagles are a running team. We know that. We think we're going to get a lot of that, but when they do throw it, will they take shot plays? This is the thing I've been lamenting for weeks. What has happened to the shot plays? When you run the ball as much as they do, and they have the NFL's best running game, you should, because teams have to play you a certain way. They're going to have to help against the run. When those safeties come up, you should throw the ball deep. So who knows?
Yeah, we will see. And obviously, you got your second and third string guards in there against the defensive tackles for Washington, who are both going to play there, Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne.
Yeah,
Jonathan Allen being one of those guys that they were able to get back with the game being moved. Start with offense. So let's see. Antonio Gibson was removed from the injury report. So that for the first time in a long time, right? I mean, he's been on with the shin fracture forever. So does that mean the fracture somehow healed, even though he was playing on it?
Typical fracture is 6 to 8 weeks. Like you said, you're right. He'd been playing on it. He had been listed with it since week 4, and the first time since week 3 he hasn't had it. So you would think it's healed. Jaden McKissick almost certainly won't play. He didn't, even with the extra days, he didn't practice. He's not expected to play.
Right.
Because he's out. The rookie Jared Patterson, who had a great training camp from the University of Buffalo, he'll back up Gibson and Wendell Smallwood. Unfortunately, Smallwood got put on the practice COVID list, so he didn't come off of it. So right now, Patterson will back up Gibson. Here's where the benefit, as I mentioned earlier, Terry McLaurin now, barring a setback, should be in the lineup because they had extra time, and he took full practices in on Saturday and Sunday, so it looks like he's going to play. They got Cam Sims back, who had been playing a lot. He came off the list. Jonathan Allen came off the list. James Smith-Williams came off the list. Tuhill from Eagle came off the list. Montez Sweat removed from it, but he had the broken jaw. He hadn't practiced yet, so he might play. They designated for return, so we'll see. But as you said, they're going to have a lot of these guys back who we didn't think when we did that last show Friday morning that they were going to be back.
No, definitely not. Right now, I mean, you look at the Washington football team, and really the only area where you have and it's a big area, is quarterback. Yes. Can they get Tyler Heineke off or Kyle Allen? But really, they would love to have Tyler Heineke, of course, off the list. Taylor Heineke by Tuesday. Yeah, I don't know. Now, have there been any reports about whether he's had symptoms, or because theoretically he could have come off by now, like by the time we recorded this, because he was on the list by Thursday, was he not? Yes, so he could come off, right. In fact, Ron Rivera on Sunday, I was reading the quotes. He seemed to indicate that, look, it's Shermer or Garrett Gilbert. That's amazing. And Garrett Gilbert knows the offense. Kyle Shermer not as much. But Garrett Gilbert played for Ron Rivera, or was with Ron Rivera in Carolina, I guess. Yep, he played for Dallas last year. There you go. Yeah, and he actually did well. He did. If I'm telling you, if he had started quarterback for the Cowboys instead of Ben DiNucci in that game at the link, the Cowboys would have won that game. I remember the Eagles turned the ball over 5 times in that game, if I'm not mistaken. Wow. Right? 5 times in that game, wasn't it? It was the windy game. The sunny day. Terrible. Yeah. Windy games. Awful. Absolutely. So that's Gail Gilbert's son, former Bills quarterback for those of us over 50. So that's kind of where they're at. I mean, that's pretty much it. That's what's changed since our show on Friday morning. It's now Monday morning. The weather will be in the mid-30s.
next to no wind tomorrow night. I hope you all enjoy it. I'm sorry that some of you have to rearrange your plans. We all have to. We will have a show tomorrow. We'll have a show Wednesday morning, which will be the game review, right?
Yep.
We'll see what happens. This is I was always going to pick the Eagles 100%, and then I'm a little bit concerned now because then the problem is we do this Monday morning. I have no idea who the quarterback's going to be. So
hold that thought because we have to redo our predictions. This is going to be like our game preview pod, and we have to give our predictions at the end. So hold that thought. I want to get you a new revised prediction. First, of course, we've got to remind our friends to go check out PHL sportsnation.com, enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check out all of their great work. You can find them on Twitter at phlsportsnation.com. And we'll pause real quick for a word from our other great sponsors, including our friends at Sky Motor Cars. All right, if you stop out there at Sky Motor Cars in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam and Geoff sent you. You will get the very best deal. All right, I mean, you have to look at this game. I wish I had written down. I know we both predicted the Eagles to win. You predicted the Eagles to win, if I'm not mistaken, 27-24, something close by a field goal, right?
You got that right, field goal, but way less scoring.
24-21?
I think I had like 19-16, 16-13 or something.
I didn't think it was that low. Okay, you had the all right. So you had the Eagles winning by a field goal. I remember the over/under at that point was 44, and I think yours was equal to 43. So maybe you had.
I thought yours was. I thought yours was.
No, I had. Oh, maybe it was because I had a 12-point win, something like a 27-13 type of. Yeah. Okay.
Mine was low. No, mine was super low. I still see it like 19-16. I'm going to stick with the Eagles 19-16 because now. Of course, I was doing this even before. I thought some of these guys would come back anyway. That's just the way these things go.
Right.
But you never know. You were talking about the levels, and that's what Ron Rivera was talking about. And also, Sean McVay was talking about it. He didn't want to go too deep into it on Sunday, but he was talking about why they got some of their guys back because the levels were better. That's we're learning, as you said, we're learning more about it based on what their levels are. And it's a brave new world, the way we learn this. There's stuff we're learning every week. And then, of course, the protocols change. But this, for now, should be it. Unless, of course, they have another outbreak, and who the hell knows what they'll do.
Now, the amazing thing is that the over-under on this game is lower, even with all those players back, than it was when we recorded, when we dropped the last pod at Friday, right? It was 44 then. It's now 42.5. The Eagles are favored by 6.5.
Still high.
But I have a feeling that if Taylor Heineke gets back, that number drops big time. Probably. In fact, I would wait before placing a wager on that game because I don't know if the Eagles are winning this game by 7.
Yes.
Go ahead. Because I'm assuming Heineke has a chance to get back here.
That's what I mean. I'm sorry. I was just going to say that that's why I think it'll. I just have it, and you said this. We've done this is our 4th year doing the show. You say this every year, and I always doubt it, and always damn happens. You go, I'm telling you, these damn NFC East games have a way. They have a life of their own. They have a way of being close, and wouldn't you know it? Something like the Giants game was a perfect example. Weren't you going to take the Giants all week?
Oh man, yes, and I said I was going to kick myself if the Eagles lost that game because I really thought that they were brewing for a loss. There was no evidence to suggest the Eagles winning 2 in a row against Denver and New Orleans and the Giants just being a train wreck. There was no evidence to suggest that the Giants were going to be better than the Eagles. But there was something, just the way these two teams play. Again, the wackiness of the division and sort of the what's the word I always use? That the law of averages type thing. Well, the Eagles have won 2 in a row. They're really not such a great team that you expect them to win 3 in a row. And then the Giants have lost a couple after playing well. They started to play well, then they lost a couple. Maybe they're due for a bounce back. I was going through all these permutations in my head, and sure enough, the Giants won, but I never picked it, even though I felt it in my gut. Now, I'm torn on this game. I'm analyzing this game under the premise that Heineke is going to somehow find his way back onto before this game starts. And if that's the case, Washington's a whole lot more formidable with everybody else back, especially on defense. So I'm really conflicted, and I'm trying to weigh, Adam, the significance of the fact that the Eagles will be A, well rested, but B, I don't want to. Is there such thing as almost like too well? Like they haven't played a football game by the time they take the field, right? For over 2 weeks. That's a long time, right? I mean, think about the number of days in between their Jets game and this game now. If I can count them, I will in a second.
Yeah,
so that
it's
was December 5th, December 21st, right?
Yeah, so that's 16 days, right?
That's a
over 2 weeks.
Freaking long time. I mean, I don't know how you come out crisp and sharp and ready to go when you've had 16 days between games. So I'm factoring that in a little bit here. Like that to me is wild. I guess I got to, for the purpose of the pot, I got to pick. I'm going to go with Washington. I really am. I think Washington's going to win this game. I do.
Really?
And again, I have no rhyme or reason other than to think that it's going to be hard to just turn on the switch after 16 days off and go beat a division team, even though it is at home. So I'm going to take Washington like 21-16. That's what I'm seeing. 21-16 Washington.
Okay, 21-16 Washington, you have it. See, the one issue I have with Washington is their offensive line is not playing well. Mm-hmm. They're banged up. They're down at Keith Ishmael, who just came off the COVID list. Right now is probably going to be the starting center.
Yeah.
That's a great advantage for the Eagles. The tackle spots aren't great. The Eagles have some advantages. I know they've underachieved some weeks where the advantages look great and they don't take advantage of it. There's no question it's a fact. Yeah. But I do think that's a factor. I think this is a tight game. These NFC, man, if Taylor Heineke plays, he's a really good athlete. He's a scrambler. He's a runner. He's quick, got really quick feet. Mm-hmm. Yes, you did a great job on our Friday show of outlining the way he throws. He makes this unorthodox throws. You go, there's no way that's going to be completed. And it gets there.
Yeah, he's the no, yes type of guy.
Right? It's just awkward. He's got an awkward three-quarters sidearm craziness. Gene Garber, for those of you over 60, I'm not, but Gene Garber was a relief pitcher for the Phillies and Braves in the 70s. And he was he was a submariner type guy, a sidewinder. And this kid, Heineke, he's got a really funky motion, but the thing about him is he's got arm strength. He was the third down specialist when Cam Newton had a bad shoulder 3 years ago. So,
right.
We'll see. I do believe the Eagles will find a way to win this game, but I do believe it'll be tight.
All right. Well, there you have it. We will do, again, just like we said last pod, we reserve the right to change our mind based on any information that comes in between the time this podcast drops Monday morning, 6 a.m., and the time we do our pregame show at 4:00 p.m. on Tuesday. And that will be, I have a lot of deleting and editing and we have a lot of stuff to do on that script. So it'll be a fun show. I hope everybody checks it out. Myself, Adam, usual suspect and everything for the show. So it'll be an awesome time. 4:00 p.m. on our social media platforms. That's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles Intel. Big thanks to Hunter Brody. Of course, he's our producer. He's also somebody you can check out on YouTube. His channel is called Sports Talk with Broads, and his website is broadsmedia.com. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.